Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The ground quakes under the approach of two mammoths from Norsca, as we have Norsca versus Bretonnia for you all here today, as we have Highland Hunters going to be leading Norsca, and No Lucky Strike will be leading the Bretonnian forces. So for the Norskans, we have a bunch of Marauders for the front line, one of which being the Icehorn Marauders ROR, so they do have Immunopsychology and Perfect Vigor, and that is going to be it for the frontline troops. But the heavy hitters are going to be in the form of Wulfric the Wanderer on top of his Mammoth, as well as a War Mammoth War Shrine. So Wulfric the Wanderer is going to be bringing Hunter, Champions, and Seafang, and of course we have Familiar Balefiend of Shadows going to be bringing Enfeebling Foe and Pendulum. For the rest of the supporting forces, we do have some Marauder Horse Masters paired with some Norscan Warhounds off into the tree line, and we also have some Fimir Warriors with great weapons who do excellent work against Bretonnia Cavalry. Now for the rest of the mobility department, we do have some more Beasts of Tashnar, the ROR variant for the Norscan Warhounds, and they have Immunopsychology and Anti-Large. We also have some Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes and just a regular Marauder Horseman. So it's got a decent amount of mobility. Norsca can't really go too heavy on that when they're facing against Bretonnia. But for Bretonnia, actually, they do not have any mobility in the form of heavy cav. So those horsemen will actually do fairly well in this matchup. So for the Bretonnian forces, we have a lot of pole arms though, so we have 4 units of those, as well as the Beast Slayers of Bastogne, the Foot Squires ROR. So there's a lot of anti-large, definitely prepared for the Mammoths and the Fimir. We also have a couple peasant mobs in the front, and then we have a bunch of peasant bowmen. So we have 2 pox arrows, very standard there, and we also have Alberic de Bordelot. So he does have Wrath of Manon, and he does give himself and other characters a nice little bonus anti-large in the surrounding. So take a little look at that, and it's the Raid of Bordelot, which gives +4 leadership and +8 bonus versus large. So that's a fairly decent ability there, especially going to work very well against Norsca here. We also do have some men-at-arms with shields, a couple of those in the rear, and we do have a Gotrek going to be leading the ground fight, as he does bring a few of his own abilities. We'll take a quick little look at that. He does have the Rune Axe of Gotrek, which gives some nice little bonus armor piercing. He does have Gotrek's Doom, and of course Deadly Onslaught, Foe Seeker, and then he has Deathblow and his nice little healing proc. So we also have the Damsel of Life going to be bringing Awakening of the Wood, Earthblood, and Regrowth. So a lot of those spells are going to be going the way of Alberic and potentially Gotrek as well. Though we do have some Grail Knights off into the tree line, as I spoke a little too soon about not having any heavy cavalry. They do have the Grail Knights, very heavy cav indeed, and these Norscan Warhounds are not going to want to be taking that engagement, that's for sure. But these are our armies, so let's get the show going as both armies do advance. So overall, from looking at things, the Bretonnians do have a very good, I think, position here, as the Marauders, there's only 5 of them, and they're just going to wash up against all of these Bretonnians. They should win all of the engagements. However, there's just a ton of archers and a nice pendulum though, just chewing through this peasant bowman. I really think that should have been cast on one of the pox arrows though, but the Beasts of Tashnar are looking to be getting into the back line pretty quickly, and as soon as these 2 mammoths come in, they're going to need to push into the back line, get after all of these archers very, very quickly, because that's going to do so much damage. And the Wrath of Manon does go down, doing a lot of damage to these Marauders, and right now they actually routed before these peasant mobs did, and that is not good for Norsca, as they need all of their infantry. Very, very important stuff there. And we have a nice Seafang, going to be a little off its mark, as it does miss a lot of the peasant bowmen. So that's a little failed cast there, and a lot of the mobility here. The Beast of Tashnar are getting chased off by the Beast Slayers of Bastogne. They should be back, but that will be sorely missed, because these peasant bowmen are doing a number on the Marauder front line. and there's a lot of infantry still not engaging right now. However, the Wolfric Thrower is doing quite a bit of work with the War Mammoth with War Shrine, but Gotrek is quickly chasing after him, and he will do a ton of damage. And even the Femur Balefiend doesn't necessarily want to engage Gotrek here, especially considering he does do magic damage, and Gotrek will beat that Femur Balefiend for sure, as now Albrecht de Bordelot is dropping down with Heroic Killing Blow, Foe Seeker, and Rally all popped, and Wolfric is taking a bunch of damage right here, and this other War Mammoth needs to come and assist him and try and get Wolfric out of that. He does have Giver of Glory, giving him some additional melee attack and fire damage, but he has taken an insane amount of damage as Gotrek and Albrecht are just wailing on Wolfric, taking him down so low. Usually it is very, very hard for factions to snipe out Wolfric, but he is just taking so much damage and he is routing, and with how low his health is, I do not expect to see Wolfric back anytime soon. Only 800 health left, and I mean, Albrecht could easily just chase Wolfric off the map, and that is a critical loss so early on, and so is the Femur Balefiend of Shadows is going down as well, and that is going to be a catastrophic loss for Norsca, losing both their leadership bastions, as the Femur Balefiend is going to be gone so early on, and that is going to be it for the Magic and the Sea Fang, so that is going to make Norsca's job a lot harder for them to deal with. So if we take a look, we do have some Norscan Warhounds though coming in from the tree line, and they are going to be getting on top of these peasant bowmen, shutting down some source of that incoming damage. And the Femur Warriors though are on top of the Damsel of Life as well as the Men-at-Arms, but Gotrek is also there with his very formidable anti-large. I'm surprised the balance of power is as even as it is, with losing both the caster and the lord for Norsca, as Albrecht de Bordelot is sitting very healthy right now. I mean, they still do have a War Mammoth with War Shrine, but all of their heavy hitters are taking a ton of damage from Gotrek and Albrecht so far this match, and a lot of anti-large personnel is on the field for Bretonnia. Pretty much a very good counter to what Norsca has brought, and a lot of their infantry for Norsca is faltering very, very severely. We have 3 very beat-up units of Marauders here, another beat-up one there, and it does look like we have a so we have a rally going down, keeping these Bretonians in the fight, but in comes that War Mammoth with a nice Wrath of Manon. Not really doing a whole lot of damage as it goes through. It does rout off, actually shatters the Beast of Tashtar, so a lucky little grab there. But otherwise, so this War Mammoth is really trying to do as much damage as he can, but of course we do have Albrecht and Gotrek both in this engagement, though this War Mammoth is doing a ton of damage to both the Damsel and to Albrecht. I mean, the Femur Warriors are really what's doing the damage to Albrecht, as they do have very formidable anti-large, so Albrecht probably would have been best bet to have kind of not been engaged in that particular battle, though the balance of power actually in Norsca's favor right now, after now Bretonnia has lost both its caster and its lord, though Gotrek is still on the field, and he really counters a lot of the units that Norsca has right now, including the War Mammoth and the Femur Warriors. So really those 2 War Mammoths and Femur Warriors need to pull out, just kind of try and bog down Gotrek at this point. But we do have Albrecht back, and he is trying to save his Damsel of Life as he is trying to pull off these Marauder Horsemen, though they are doing a good job of keeping on top of that Damsel of Life. Though we do have some Men-at-Arms with polearms coming in as well, though these Marauder Horse Masters could very well be able to just beat them back and keep that Spellslinger off the field. War Mammoth doing some good work keeping those Men-at-Arms off, and really these Horsemasters or Horsemen and the Throwing Axes are going to be peppering Albrecht at this point, and pretty much the melee infantry is going to be supported by Gotrek here, as a lot of the Norscans, pretty much all of the Norscan infantry is routing right now. We do have some coming back, but the Femur Warriors with great weapons are just trying to avoid Gotrek now at all costs, so at some point they are going to have to engage. As we take a look, we do have Albrecht dropping down. It looks like the Spellslinger has been killed at this point, and here are the Grail Knights, which we haven't really seen a whole lot. I'm not really sure where they have been, but they have taken some considerable damage right now. But with the Grail Knights and Albrecht, they have been able to push off these Marauder Horsemasters, though the Throwing Axes and Horsemen have been just peppering in, doing some very good damage there. and Gotrek now in hot pursuit of these Fimir warriors with great weapons, and they do not want to take that engagement. They are trying to wait for some assistance by some of their infantry, but it looks like a lot of their infantry is all gone and dusted here, as we just have the Norscan Warhounds, the War Shrine, and then just a very mobile core, though, of horsemen and throwing axes as they are just peppering in, cleaning up the low-hanging fruit. And we do have Albrecht just kind of trying to stay away from these engagements, as we do have a very isolated unit, though, of men-at-arms with shields and 2 marauders in the close proximity, and 2 of these marauders should be able to beat these men-at-arms fairly easily. And they are just looking to actually they're trying to chase down these marauders here. That I think they really should try and be regrouping with the rest of their infantry, as just trying to consolidate their forces, I think, is the best bet for the Bretonnians at this point, as there's not a whole lot of good infantry support left for Norsca, and Albrecht could very easily kind of swoop in now that these 2 marauders are very separated, could swoop in, make sure that they get peeled off very effectively, and I think that is exactly what he's going to try and do for these marauders here. And there is no Norscan forces that are close enough to be able to respond, so this one unit of marauders is actually looking to regroup with the Fimir warriors and that War Shrine. But yeah, Albert quickly shatters these units of marauders, doing very quick work there. Now he's probably going to be trying to focus down some of the other surrounding forces as he just kind of continues chasing off all of the low-hanging fruit of Norsca. But it looks like we're going to see our engagement underway fairly soon, as all the forces have consolidated that they can, and you're getting a little nice charge in by these horsemen here, kind of kicking these beast slayers. It doesn't look like they were quite braced. They did move a little bit, but they do pull out quickly. But these the men-at-arms are starting to falter, and now that the War Mammoth is in, he's going to be doing a lot of good work. The Fimir warriors as well now engaged, and Gotrek is not on the targets that he needs to be on. He needs to be on the Fimir warriors and the War Mammoth at this point. And Albrecht actually getting caught out by these horsemen with throwing axes, and now in come these other marauder horsemen, just trying to keep Albrecht away as much as he can, and they will slowly do damage to Albrecht, so he is not in a good spot right now, as the War Mammoth now looking to be pushing in, trying to get after Albrecht by the looks of things, but he's a little hung up on these men-at-arms. And these Fimir warrior, though, taking a beating from Gotrek right now, as there isn't really a whole lot left for them to really get on top of. But man, Gotrek is just peeling models left, right, and center with every swing of his axe. But these marauder the Warhounds are going to be doing very well at chasing off all the routing units, and Albrecht does rout as well now that the War Mammoth has gotten into the engagement, and that is going to probably spell certain disaster for the forces of Bretonnia, as he does fall. And now it is just down to one unit, the Beast Slayers of Bastogne and Gotrek, and they should be able to clean up everything that isn't the Mammoth at this point. The Mammoth, its health is 5,000, and Gotrek, I mean, he has a very good anti-large character, but I don't know if he's going to be enough. So right now, Norsca is just going to have to try and break the Beast Slayers of Bastogne as best they can and get Gotrek isolated all on his own, because then that War Mammoth can cycle charge in and out, and Gotrek shouldn't be able to do anything at that point if they're able to get rid of the Beast Slayers of Bastogne. But we'll see as the War Mammoth does charge in, and these Beast Slayers of Bastogne just getting absolutely sandwiched by 2 units of Marauder Horsemen, and they are wavering very, very quickly, and it looks like they will be routing. They haven't routed just yet, though I'm sure they will. They are terrified, but they haven't routed. But it is still leaving Gotrek isolated right now, and they finally do rout. But Gotrek is just doing so much damage to this War Mammoth right now, and this War Mammoth needs to be cycling in and out of this engagement. It needs to keep knocking Gotrek down with its charges. But right now it's just staying in engagements, and the War Mammoth just taking so much damage. It's down to 1,500. It was at 5,000 health right now, and Gotrek is unbreakable, so he could very well carry this battle for Bretonnia, as the War Mammoth does finally pull out, and he, as one of the units of horsemen are going to be chasing off the Beast Slayers of Bastogne. But it is now just down to Gotrek, and he is slowly getting whittled down. And in comes some Norscan Warhounds. They should be able to peel off these Beast Slayers of Bastogne very easily. And that War Mammoth getting a little too far away from him, as Gotrek is just continuing to beat down these horsemen. As you can see, he has done a number on them, and now the Warhounds are trying to get in. But in comes the War Mammoth back again. He shouldn't be too afraid of engaging with Gotrek. He does just need to make sure that he gets in and out of the engagements, and Gotrek is getting very low himself. He's down to 587, and in comes the Mammoth, charging in and knocking Gotrek, well, not actually knocking Gotrek down, but he does finally fall off of that charge. So take a look at the after battle report, and a very back and forth match with both sides losing their leadership and spellcasting fairly early on. I mean, Albric and Gotrek just wailed on Wulfric so well, did so much damage. I mean, Wulfric has 10,000 hit points, and they were able to just burst him down so fast, and that other War Mammoth just wasn't able to respond in time to really save him. But I mean, in turn though, then Norsca was able to get the Damsel of Life out and get rid of Albric as well for the most part. They didn't necessarily kill him and rout him off the field really quickly, but they got him low enough where he couldn't really engage without putting himself at a considerable risk. And Gotrek almost able to hard carry in the late stages of that game. He just did so much damage to that War Mammoth. Like, if he was able to get chevrons in this match, I mean, he probably racked up well over 10 to 15,000 damage against Wulfric and that War Mammoth. Just so much damage between those two targets, and he did a great work against the Fimir Warriors as well, though the Fimir Warriors did very well themselves, as well as the mobility for the Norskins. And I think just only having one Grail Knight for Bretonnia just probably wasn't quite enough in the mobility, because that just allowed Norsca to have that advantage in the mobility department. I'm not really sure how they took all that damage. I imagine it may have been from the Fimir Warriors, as they were a little isolated, but yeah, Fimir Warriors pretty much hard counter every single Bretonian cav unit. You just kind of have to either overwhelm them or just kind of saturate them with, like, Gotrek, for example. But otherwise, that was a very fun match, back and forth. Norsca just able to pull it out, but I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.